Hello, I'm live, supposedly. Welcome to another day of Bhagavad Gita Sadhana. And we're going to focus on chapter 2 again. Let's see if I can get through it today with all the fun stuff that's been coming up spontaneously. And I'd like to dedicate this practice in part to Rob for a wonderful conversation yesterday on reality, and also to Jen. And to anybody else who's having a birthday today, happy birthday. We're going to talk about that in today's program, which is revisiting a topic from way back that we discussed in previous videos. It has to do with storytelling, what we tell ourselves about the world. For example, the reason the camera's over this far today is because you might be able to tell that my laundry is hanging out this morning. And I have a friend, Deb, who'll be like, of course, it's a perfect day. It's going to be clear. And with the winter weather, it's very dry. Sheets would be great to hang out today. And some of you from different parts of the country might be going, how are you hanging out your laundry when there's still snow on the ground? So how we relate to things around us depends so much on the stories we've been told as we're growing up. Like today, it's going to be above freezing. Yay, hooray, warm. Some of them would go, oh my, that is not anywhere near warm. Okay, so with birthdays, chapter 2 of the Gita, Arjuna and Krishna are discussing how we're embodied and what it means to be embodied and what happens when we don't have a body. Most of us are concerned, as Arjuna is right now, because he's facing a war, with what happens when we shed our bodies. Oh my gosh, is it going to be painful? Is it going to be scary? Am I going to be sick? Am I going to be allowed to be at home? Am I going to be in the hospital? Am I going to have tubes? And what happens then after that? What happens after I go? Have I been good? Have I been bad? Is there nothing to look forward to? Right? And especially as we get older, we contemplate that. But how often do we contemplate the opposite? So if many of us are convinced that there's something within us that lives on after death, does it follow that there's something in us that was around before we were born? Some people would say, why, yes, that makes sense. But we hardly ever think back and go, oh my gosh, before I was born, what was that like? Was it horrible? What did I do to deserve? What did I? Okay. It's more like we don't even think about it. And if you're thinking, well, how can we remember things before we were born? Well, how about right after you were born? Krishna is bringing up this valid point to Arjuna. You were around at your first birthday, but do you remember it? Why not? And what stories do you tell yourself about your first birthday? I tell myself hardly any. I only know there's a photo of me with a huge cake and me with frosting all over my face. I don't really remember my first birthday. And many of us don't, but other people will tell us stories about that. And one of the things Krishna is going to urge Arjuna to do, starting with this chapter, is watch out for the story you're telling yourself. Okay. For example, around birthdays, in our Western culture, which values youth highly, we might be going, oh, don't talk about my birthday. I'm getting so old. Time is running out. Well, what if we looked at some of the more traditional or indigenous views of birthday? Hey, you lived another year. Do you know how impressive that is for this fragile human body to survive the elements, to survive all the challenges, attackers, viri, bacteria for another year? You're becoming more and more splendid, a bigger repository of wisdom. Woohoo! I like to go with the latter story myself, but you can pick whatever story you wish. And this is something Krishna is going to reiterate to Arjuna over and over again. We'll come back to chapter 2 again tomorrow, and maybe again and again, but we'll see. It might be time to move on. But before we move on to our balance pose, the birthday girl, oh, look, I'm part of the eclipse. There we go. There's a lunar eclipse coming up, by the way, if you didn't know that. Solar and lunar eclipses are often paired. Thanks to Cathy for that knowledge. And thanks to Cathy for this mudra. The mudra I used yesterday and sometimes use spontaneously is called Emi mudra, so far as I know. This is what Cathy, the mudra master, I would say, has called it. In yogic traditions, we might go more like this, and it's more like a yoni type of mudra, an adaptation. Our thumbs and our fingertips are touching, and the fingertips, I'm going to have to adjust my position here. There we go. If the sun won't move, I'd better try. Let's see. Okay. The thumbs and fingertips are together. The fingers rest at the sternal notch here, and the thumbs rest on the base of the sternum, probably around that xiphoid process area. Okay. I like it because it connects me to my heart center and it reminds me of being in touch with my soul. But if it brings to mind another story for you, go for it. As we do our practice today, I invite you to contemplate not just where you're going, especially if it's your birthday, but where you came from and how much you've gone through and how great you are just to be here. And that you can contemplate in your own way, maybe with the mudra. Okay? We'll do our balance practice to get settled, and hopefully you'll be able to see me and not be blinded, and then we'll do our meditation. Okay. It's still very cold, so I'll check in. Wee. Sorry, I forgot to knock. I was distracted by the reflections in the window and, of course, by the cat. But meditation time, if you want to use that MEMY yoga, or mudra, ME mudra, you may. Hold on, kitty. Steady, steady, steady. welcome back. So yes, I'll have to watch the video to see what you see, but I see a lot of reflection from the light that's creating illusions and refractions. And actually, then that made me think of what happens when we start on the spiritual path. So here we are in chapter 2 in the light. There it is. There it is. There it is. The light of knowledge, reality, and truth is starting to arise in us, and it can create an idea of illusion. Like we see things and we go, are those substantial or not? How are they reflecting what's going on around me in the world? And that can be a whole adventure in itself. If contemplating where you came from and where you're going relative to this body intrigues you, chapter 2 is a great chapter for you to dig into, and we will revisit it one more time tomorrow. And if you are enjoying these and you want to get more, like you want to investigate chapter more deeply or learn more about not just mudras but asana to go with the Gita and your practice, remember we've got our annual Memorial Day retreat coming up, and today is the last day for the early bird discount. The link is below, and I'd love to have you for that. You can attend online like this, or you can be in person with a great group of folks. You are a great group. I feel you. And I love the comments, especially about the car names. So keep the comments and questions coming. Anything else? No, I think it's good. All right, then. Until tomorrow. Ooh, so bright.